right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SNB Talking Sport. I'm your host, Spinksy, and what a show we have lined up for you guys this week. But first, I want to touch on an Aussie who passed away on Saturday morning over here in Australia, the great Shane SK Warne himself, 52-year-old, had a heart attack over in Thailand. I'm not sure how you guys reacted to the news, but it was about 4:30 in the morning over here, and I just left someone's house and I was coming back to get showered and go off to work, and I got a text message. And I've loved Warnie since I first started watching him in the mid-90s. He was a true Aussie icon, great on the park as well as what he did outside of the game too. He epitomised what it was to be an Aussie. Some of those scenes of him at the Ashes with the stump over his head and smoking a cigarette in England, and some of the women he dated from all over the world. And Warnie was just a character. And I've got the book, his book. I've got the number 23 tattooed on my shoulder for some of the great sports stars that wore that number, and he was one of them. And he'll be sadly missed. Have you guys got some fond memories of Shane Warne?
Yeah, so many. And I think at my age, I'm 31 at the moment. So I grew up at my peak of loving cricket was when kind of Shane Warne was at his peak of his career. So many, many matches watching him either save the game or just dominate basically his entire career. And just watching back like the World Cups when I was a kid and just everything that he managed to do. Just wild, and we'll absolutely never see it again. There's leg spin's kind of one of those things, but there's not that much of it as it is. So I just know, like, we'll never see another Shane Warne, and we'll never see a leg spinner that can rip the ball like he could. So it's a sad one. It's a definitely sad one.
Yeah, I think so. I think Bo, you've nailed it. And I guess I didn't really grow up watching cricket. I guess I followed my brother, and he would follow it a little. But last night, my housemate's obviously a cricketer, and last night we got watching a bit on KO just about his life, and they've got an amazing series about everything, the early days, and to right from when he became a dad, and as Spinks referenced, the people that he dated and the character that he was. So it's just, he's got an epic story, and at 52 you just feel like he had so much more to give. And I guess just quite surreal. It just doesn't feel quite right, does it? Like, it feels like it's a bit of a dream, and quite horrific. He leaves behind kids, and just devastating, really, and a really tough time for Cricket Australia in general. They've had a lot of sad times of late.
Yeah, it speaks up. I'm not sure if we're going to go into his numbers or anything later, but it's like some of the things that he's been able to do. So I was looking his numbers up, and he's got 700 test wickets, which is obviously very impressive. But I think something that's not really been talked about, or not what I've seen anyone talk about, is he's got 700 wickets behind bowling with some of the best bowlers also that have ever played, with Brett Lee and Glenn McGrath and all that. So and playing in Australia for most of it, which isn't generally, we don't really have wickets that turn that much. So to be able to, like, if we had a crappy team, if our team was shit and he was the only one that could take a wicket, basically, imagine what it could have been. So 700 is obviously ridiculous, but it's not that far-fetched that he's up near 1,000, I think.
Yeah, I think the 708 wickets he took was broken by the Sri Lankan, the Chaka. He's got 800, I think, now, but that doesn't count because he's a Chaka.
Exactly. And then, like, Shane Warne had his suspended year, he's missed a whole year then, and his shoulder reco and that. So, like, anything could have. Look,
I'm sure I've spoken about it on the show in the past, but back when I was up on the Gold Coast, we used to go to sports functions, and you'd purchase a ticket, and there'd be 2 or 3 athletes there, or former athletes there, and they'd hop up on stage and have a few stubbies and share the story. And most of them went for about half an hour max. And Warnie hopped up there one day with Mark Geyer and Frank Farina. That was the coach of the Socceroos back in the day. And the 3 of them were up there for about 4 hours, and they were fucking maggot. They were drunk as hell, and they were sharing stories about things that I can't talk about on this show. And it was the stuff they used to get up to back on Kangaroo and Aussie tours over in the UK, back when there was no phones and no cameras around. Some of those stories were just unbelievable. So, yeah,
absolutely. I think that's what makes him so like relatable and so lovable from the Australian perspective.
Yeah, so good. So we'll touch on it again later in the show, but coming up, I'm going to talk about something I saw on the weekend. We're going to talk about the news. There's about 5 or 6 news topics. And we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, but the 3 of us are going to name our 3 favorite sports stars of all time. Now, we haven't revealed these to anyone else yet, so this will be fresh off the cuff as you guys hear them as well. And then with the NRL starting this weekend, we're going to name our 2 grand finalists and the wooden spooners. So there's a lot to go this week, but let me first break down something I witnessed on Saturday. Now, in the last 2 weeks, I have watched both of you supreme athletes that you are take to the field. Now, Mr. Kennett, you went on to win the ACT championship last weekend, and on Saturday, I took my young daughter down to watch Ness play a game of netball, or sorry, several games of netball. And as the storm rolled in and I was sweating to my seat, because it was disgustingly hot, I watched Ness. And Ness, your positional awareness on the court is fantastic. You were always in the right spot, or you were passing off the ball and then moving to the right spots. So your positional awareness was on fire. And I understand it's been a bit of an off season for a while now, but your shooting was disgusting. I think you shot about 8% there. But hang on a minute.
Shooting brick.
Your rebounding was fantastic. Now, shit you not, if I had the footage for it, there was a shot missed. She got every rebound. She missed 5 in a row and nailed the 6th shot. It was fantastic. I haven't seen rebounding like that since Shaq. It was unreal.
Shaq.
Since Shaq. And you shoot just like Shaq does too. Yeah, terribly.
No, right. Okay, terribly.
Now, I hope that's the first time you've ever been compared to Shaq.
I guess it's interesting. A few things. Spinks, thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it, and to your daughter as well. And like my personal favorite part of the day was that I was shooting like trash. You're so right. The ones I got were absolute dynamite shots, but
they were very good. Yeah.
Hell, the rest of them were bad, really bad. But every time I'd turn around, I'd hear Charlie going, "Yeah, Ness, you got it." And I'm like, I just suck, but all right, thank you. So that was so cool. But the best was she was obviously asking me lots of questions about whether the boys play netball as well, and I was like, yeah, they do. And I said, oh, some of them are nearly professional. And she went, oh, cool. And she said, are you professional? And so I turned it back on her and I was like, well, what do you think? She didn't even skip a beat. She was like, yeah, no, you're not professional.
That's my daughter. Yeah.
The apple has not fallen far from the tree.
She does.
So there's nothing like a 6-year-old bringing you back down to earth. Yeah, it's good.
How did you end up going over the whole day? Because I wasn't there for the rest of it.
Yeah, we came 4th in the end, so some disappointing losses. But you know what? We lost to people that are half my age. I could have mothered most of them. They're fit, they're agile, and I reckon that it's Monday night and I am still sore. It's been 2 days, so I reckon that they're probably feeling okay. Yeah. And that's probably why they won. So they probably shot better too. They had better shooters.
Yeah. The second game I watched, that the goal shooter, she couldn't miss. That girl's on.
Couldn't miss. Yeah, couldn't miss.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm sure you'll be back out there again really soon. But yeah, thank you. That was a good day out, and they sold sausages and cold beer. It was fantastic. I was in heaven.
The netball.
Yeah, I'll be back Don't worry. All right, let's turn our attention to the news right now. UFC 272. I've been talking it up for a couple of weeks now, but the main event didn't kind of live up to the hype. But so Covington beat Jorge in the end fairly easily. I think he won 4-1 on my scoring. But it was the co-main event between Dos Anjos and Renato Moicano. Now, Moicano stepped into the fight on Thursday, so he wasn't supposed to fight at all. And he kind of got beaten up for most of the fight. I'll send a photo through to Joshua so he can get it up on the screen for us. But the state of this guy, the doctor came in to stop the fight probably 4 or 5 times, and he kept waving the finger in front of his face. The old mate's like turning his whole head. Like he had no idea where he was. Doctor's like, I think he's okay. What fight are you on? Like, he couldn't, his eye was that big, it was huge. And he kept, in the end, this dude just kept going. He just got back up, kept throwing punches. He couldn't see out of either eye. There was one stage there, but he threw a 1-2 in the wrong direction. And I was like, if that landed, that was fantastic. But old mate's over here. Like, you can't even see him, man. He just throwing him around. Like, I'm all for letting the fight carry on, but this was insane. So if you get a chance, we didn't see it, go find it, because it was well worth a watch. And it was like 20 minutes, just madness. So I'll get some photos up on the screen and I'll post them on to our social medias as well, because this guy was messed up. But I'm sure he'll get a good fight coming up soon because of the way he just didn't stop. So full credit to him. Now, Ness, you were at the Brumbies and the Waratahs match on Saturday night in the driving rain here in the ACT, and the Brumbies got a win 27-20. That is all. Yeah.
I told you they would. We were debating this pretty hard last week, but the Waratahs did get a win in the Super W, and credit to those girls. They, in the pouring rain, because it was the heaviest weather conditions for the girls' game, they were dynamite, and they've really improved. The Waratahs fullback, she kicked about 4 or 5 goals, and some of them from the sideline. In those conditions, it was pretty crazy, and it was a really good game actually. But yep, I told you the Brums would win, so bad luck. And good to see that you were there to support your team, Spinks. But we'll continue that one later.
Yeah, okay, fine. And speaking of the Waratahs women's team, they were staying at the AIS on Saturday night. They stayed at the AIS in the athletes' village there because someone went for a run very early on Sunday morning, and I saw them all. So, and I was in a bad state because I was walking and I saw them and I thought, shit, now I've got to run. So I was running as hard as I could.
Oh, you're a quitter for walking. That's your own fault.
Exactly.
Speaking of the women, the Women's World Cup is on at the moment. Australia has defeated England by 18 runs in the opening match. They now move on to play Pakistan on the 8th, which I think is tomorrow night. Yes, that's right. We're a good chance to win this tournament. We've already beaten England, so I think the Indians are a good team at the moment. So we're looking hot favourites to win this tournament. Ness, is there anyone that stands in our way?
You'd think New Zealand, but they had a loss to the Windies, so probably a little bit surprising, to be fair. Look, I think it's Australia's to lose, I think, is how we should probably think about this one. So, yeah, I haven't actually caught too much of the cricket, but we'll tune in come finals time when hopefully we're there holding the trophy.
Speaking of, the Aussies are in Pakistan at the moment, and the pitch is atrocious. It is like a highway out there. There have been 749 runs scored for 6 wickets down. Pakistan got 4 for 476, and Australia 3 for 271 the last time I checked. So you cannot buy a wicket over there. Bo, I know you've been home a bit lately. Have you seen any of the test match between Australia and Pakistan?
Yeah, I have actually. I've watched a fair bit. I was keen as to watch today, but it was rained out every time I went to tune in. But as you said, like with the state of the pitch, I watched Sri Lanka score 400 odd. What did they score? and only lose a couple of wickets. And I thought, what's happening? Like, I wasn't quite aware the pitch was that much of a highway, like you said.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's like, have we just not turned up? There's a Shane Warne thing. Maybe the boys are kind of distracted. And then you see us come out and bat, and
the same thing.
Even worse. It's like,
Terrible. Yes.
Good to see. Like, obviously, it's nice to see runs scored. But yeah, I don't know. I don't got too much to say on it. It's just it's who can stay out there, and it's just doesn't look like there's going to be any more wickets anytime soon.
You guys are both F1 fans.
Hold on, I want to touch in here. This will be my Canadian showing. So it was 155 to 5, and Sri Lanka won by 5 wickets. So hopefully that helps at all for anyone who knows what I'm talking about.
No, that's Pakistan. It's Pakistan and Australia.
Oh, Pakistan and Australia. I thought you said Sri Lanka and Australia.
Yeah, I think Bo said Sri Lanka, but he meant Pakistan.
Oh, Jesus. Did I?
I knew what you meant. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, I'm like, I'm going to hop in here. What a
fucking racist I am.
I'm muting myself again. Get back at it, guys. Sorry.
That's my bad.
Now, you guys are both F1 fans. F1 has ditched Russia for the next 2 years, at least this year and next year. Is this going to be an ongoing thing, or is there, obviously with the conflict going on at the moment, but is this going to be for the foreseeable future, or is there too much money in the sport in Russia or anywhere for it to end like that?
I hope not. And that probably sounds bad because everyone's kind of like, yo, fuck Russia. But I think it's kind of unfair for the Russians because it's one person leading Russia that's kind of making the decisions and made all the hatred go towards Russia. So you just feel for everyone that is Russian. So I hope they don't miss out. It's an event which Ness would love to talk about. I'm sure it's something that brings money in, and it's a great event and great for the country. No, it shouldn't be spoiled by one dickhead leader that's maybe taking his power too highly. And I don't even, what's the Russian track? I'm not quite sure. What's it called? Anyone? Not sure.
Nothing.
Maybe Josh will find. But
we're such good fans, we don't even know.
We're great fans of sport.
Well, we're also new, like we're a season and a half into following the sport, but I don't know. I think for the general fan, more races is always good as well. I don't think politics should get too heavily involved in it. But happy with them. Let's skip it this year because that's fair enough. We'll bring it back, hopefully.
Yeah. Nice.
Totally think, yeah, I totally agree, Bo. They apparently spent $366 million on this track, though. So you can understand that the Russians are a little bit upset with it. That said, I think it's totally right. This year they need to sit out and think about things. But the whole situation with Russian sport at the moment, there's a whole lot of athletes that are training and not able to participate in things. And right or wrong, it's probably, in my view, the best way to do things at the moment. Whether it's a long-standing thing, I don't know, but the F1's pretty powerful, so yeah, maybe it will be a longer-term thing.
Look, we've been spruiking this for a couple of weeks now. We're going to give our top 3 greatest sports stars of all time. Now, we're going to go in alphabetical order because I think that's just the fairest way to do it. So, Mr. Bo Kennett, you get to go first. Now, there are no right or wrong answers. There are just stupid ones. Okay. So you may go first and we may critique you. And I'll be second. And Ness, you can go third. Right, Bo. What do you got for us?
I'm so glad I was born Bo, second letter of the alphabet. This is my biggest blessing ever. No, mine are all kind of vanilla. You can't really be off any of mine. But I'll start from Adam Gilchrist was probably he's up there for me. So I'm going to go like 3, 2, 1. So Adam Gilchrist, it was just hard you couldn't not love watching Adam Gilchrist out on the pitch. Just there's something poetic about someone that's left-handed just slogging a ball. And I think I've got this weird fascination where when I have kids, I'm going to force them to be left-handed just because I have this feeling that left-handers are just way more dominant in sport. So watching Gilly go out there, and especially in like the test matches where he kind of didn't really take I'll just sit at the crease for a couple of hours. He had one mindset and was kind of one of the early on cricketers to kind of have that mindset in test match cricket, to be like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And it was just fun to watch him smack the ball around the park. And legend as he is, wore my number. My number was 18, always growing up. So there was just I'm also weird with numbers. So that was a fascination there. Moving on, Andrew Johns, he comes in second. He gets the silver medal for me. Just another guy, like I was saying with Shane Warne, that anything could have been of his career, and he's an immortal already. So retired young because of injury, but still is to be considered as, or to be an immortal after only he played 249 games. So that says enough. If you look at people like Cameron Smith that have played 400 games and they're kind of in the GOAT category, and you've got a guy that's played just over half as many games and he's still in that category, people still look at him the same. And a guy that was realistically probably only still in his prime when he retired. If you look at how long some of these halves are playing these days, where even though it was a few years back, he's still got to play probably another 6, 7, 8 years. So another one of the stories of just anything could have been. He could have absolutely dominated and asserted himself as the GOAT. As a Newcastle Knights fan too, he was the guy that, many happy moments from him. So if you don't like that, if you don't like Andrew Johns, I don't like you really. And then to wrap it all up, Peyton Manning. That's the best athlete of all time, isn't it? Just have a look at him. That is what a real athlete should look
like. What a real man looks like.
But no doubt in my mind, he changed the game of football as well. Kind of the first quarterback to start calling his own plays, and just the first quarterback that was a full-blown nerd, I suppose, and just his brain was just different to anyone else, and carried an awful team for 15 odd years. But really, like, there wasn't a lot of talent in that team, and which we saw the Colts kind of suffer after he retired. But there's no Peyton Manning. Jesus Christ, you can't. What I would do to have Peyton Manning back, but just a great, like, dominated. The only guy, like, it's hard for a quarterback, and we've just seen it happen with Tom Brady, but taking that out of it, and Matt Stafford, I suppose now, but it was really hard to see a quarterback go from one team to another and have instant success. And he came in and just dominated straight up after changing teams, setting like passing yard records, touchdown records. And he could have been the best to ever do it. So those three have just always been my favorite to watch. There was never a boring game of footy, cricket with those guys out there. So
very nice.
That's my top three. Obviously, the best three. No one else is going to compete with them. But
you're done. That show's over. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, done.
All right. That was a very good top three, mate. Very nice. You picked two Aussies there, and I don't have any Aussies on my list, so I kind of feel bad. I don't care. I struggled with my three. I named these three straight up, and then all week I kind of wanted to add others in, and then when Shane Warne passed, I wanted to have him there as well, but I knew we'd have a bit of a tribute to him. So my three, I don't really have them in order, but I'm going to do it right now. Christiana Ronaldo will be at number three. I spent a lot of time in the UK when he was first with Man United. I've spoken about it here before multiple times, and just the way he used to be on the field, looked like he was the only one there. He was probably at a very young age. He was talent. I was laughing at. At a very young age, he had all the skill and all the talent, and that of guys older than him. And he just to run rings around them on the park, and just the skill that he showed and the goals that he could score, the freak that he was for so many years. I think the last couple of years he's sort of come down a bit from that high pedestal, but he was winning everything in the sport there was back in the day. And I think just watching him, I was in awe of him for so long. So yeah, that was great. And he's better than Messi. So yeah. He's number 3. Number two, I have Tiger Woods. The way Tiger Woods dominated golf for so many years. You see it a lot nowadays in sort of the lesser known tournaments where guys will win by 10, 12, 18 odd shots. But he was doing that in the Masters and the US Open, the British Open, all these opens where the best of the best turn up and Tiger Woods would just come and just destroy all of them. His short game, his long game, his putting, he was just at the top of his game for so many years. And yes, he had off-field incidents, but everyone does these days.
He was on top of a lot of things, not just his game, wasn't he?
He sure was on Tiger. Yes, and they had yes. I won't go into that. We are talking about the greatest sports stars here. Yes, Tiger Woods is at number 2 for me for obvious reasons, and hopefully we get Tiger back to some form at some time soon after his latest car accident. And number 1 for me is the greatest basketballer of all time, LeBron James. That is right, LeBron.
Oh my God,
LeBron James is a better basketballer than
Really?
So let me paint this for you, right? LeBron James has done it for almost 20 odd years now, if not a bit more. He's won 2 titles with the Heat, a title with the Cavs, and a title with the Lakers. Some of those titles he won with the Cavs, he was the only man on that park that could play basketball at all. The rest of them were trash. Michael Jordan did it 6 times. I know, 3 and 3, but he had a supporting cast around him that was incredible, right? And LeBron's had
Who's Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving? I'm not sure.
Yeah, but Kyrie Irving back then was
Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. I'm not sure.
I haven't heard of him. Don't know that. No, that was with the Heat. That wasn't with the Cavs. Yeah. So I think for him to move around to different teams and still keep being on top of his game, he dropped 56 points the other day against the Warriors and cost me my goddamn multi. So you owe me $600. All right. Well,
I watched that game.
$2, but you owe me $600 for interest. But yes, I've got LeBron James at number 1, a gentleman on the court and off the court. You don't often hear about off-field incidents with LeBron James. He's built schools for underprivileged children and given money to charities, and he's just an all-round nice guy, and he is my number 1 sports star, and he's better than Michael Jordan. There you go.
Can I butt in? Are we naming our favorite or just who's the best athletes of all time?
There's the best athletes, yeah. Or could be I've got top.
I went with favorite. I definitely just went with my favorite 3 athletes. So maybe
that works.
Maybe I've read the memo wrong there.
Well, they're my favorite too. So there you go.
They can't be your favorite. No, you can't have your favorite athletes of like the best to ever do it in every sport in the world. You're that guy that just jumps on different teams every year to be like, oh no, I go for this team now. They're winning.
Oh, come on, you don't do that.
No, sounds like Spence. Yeah.
It said the 3 greatest sports stars of all time. So however you interpret that, so you interpret it.
Yeah, I probably just interpreted it wrong. That's my bad.
So I'm right.
I think we've all.
Yes.
I think we've all done similar things in that case. Well, other than Spinks, but no one listens to him. I'm just. You can choose Ronaldo. That's fine. I've actually gone with Pele, and I go back to So my dad absolutely loved him, which soccer or football is part of the family fabric, and watching up, growing him, and I mean, Dad used to always talk about just how much he did outside of soccer as well, and once he finished playing, but his records and his accolades on the field were quite impressive. So this is obviously pre-Ronaldo and pre-Messi, and he just for his era, I think he was just so dominant. So pretty big for an Italian father to claim a Brazilian as a better soccer player than his own country. That's huge. Number 2 for me is Roger Federer. And if you just talk about someone at the top of their game, that's exactly, I think he just typifies tennis and respect. He has class, he has poise. His talent's obvious, but he's just so passionate and emotional, and you can't we can't not love Roger Federer really for what he's achieved in the game of tennis, and Have we seen sort of the last of him? Probably. He's certainly dominated, and what a legend. So Fed, and probably no surprise here, but have to finish with a netballer, but I'm sure no one is shocked by that. But we talked in the very first episode around why we love sport. Sherelle McMahon, for me, is the greatest netballer that will ever play the game. We're never going to see someone quite like her. She's around my height, so she's not super tall. And as a kid, I was always wanting to be a shooter. As Spinks will tell you, I suck at that. So, but she showed exactly that you don't need to be these tall timbers to play the game of netball. She's super agile, super quick, and her read on the game and her game awareness is pretty special. She's been Australian captain. She's played 118 tests for Australia. She shot 2,520 goals, an average of 21 per game, which again is a few more than I shot on the weekend. But it's the work that she did as a captain and a leader and a mentor for so many young girls. She captained the Vixens, the Phoenix, and Australia, and then she went into coaching as well. So from when I met her when I was 12, I still idolize her now, and I have met her a few times, and she is just a lovely human being as well. And that it would break my heart if she was a horrible person, but she's absolutely not. So no surprises. Sherelle McMahon, greatest ever netballer and goal attack all time. We'll never see another one.
Very nice, guys. Well done. See,
I'm just going to chime in because I was just thinking about it as we're talking. I'm definitely going probably Phelps, Floyd Mayweather, Serena Williams. Done. That's my greatest of all.
Phelps was absolutely. I had Phelps written down, Bo. If you talk about people that have truly led their sport, Phelps has to be up there. Tiger Woods was also in mine.
I
absolutely.
I understood the assignment. That's why I did what I did.
The instruction was not clear.
Feel free to leave your comments under the video here about how I'm right and these two are wrong, or leave your own top three. That'd be good too. Thank you very much. You guys have done your homework, so I appreciate that. Now, with the rugby league season kicking off this weekend, I know it's getting a bit colder here in the ACT and across Australia in general, which sucks, but rugby league is back. And Ness, we're going to go reverse alphabetical order here. Can I have your two grand finalists and your wooden spooner, and why?
Okay, I'm going the grand final to not feature the Storm for the first time in a little while. Yeah, I think Manly and the Panthers are going to be in it. I think Manly will actually, I think Manly might actually do it this year. I just have this. I don't know. There's no science behind this craziness tonight. It's just pure hunch. And wooden spooners, I have to say the Bulldogs.
Nice.
There's no why. These are hunches. I was going to say Newcastle, but I'm not horrible. So
yeah, well, thank you.
Right, it's okay. I'll just walk away while you bag up the Roosters for the next segment. Yeah.
No, my grand finalists are the Roosters and the Sharks. I think the way, the shit you're not. I'm being serious now. Come on, stop. The Roosters they've always been up there the last couple of seasons. I think Melbourne's on its way down at the moment. Panthers are as well. They've struggled in the trial. So the two big teams from last year, I don't think, can replicate what they did. South Sydney are the same. They've lost Wayne Bennett this year, and they've lost Reynolds as well. I think South will struggle, and the Roosters were the other team in the four. So I think the Roosters made the grand final. I think the Sharks have recruited incredibly well this year, and will probably finish the top four and push for a grand final. So I'm going to go Roosters and Sharks in the grand final, and I'm going to go the Dragons to get the wooden spoon. And I'd be surprised if the Dragons win a game at all. They're a trash outfit. They've recruited no one. They've got a couple of old dudes there. They've got the worst coach in the history of rugby league, and I think the Dragons are in for a winless year. So there you go.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
I could be nice at times.
I know, it's just so rare.
All right, Bo, what do you got?
When the Roosters are involved.
Yeah, I've got two because my finals. I've got Penrith and the Roosters. I think they're the most talented two teams by a long way, and they're all very young. So much talent. It's hard to really go past either of those, but they're probably two of the favorites. So, if I had to give two smoky teams, maybe Para Manly. I really think Manly are in that conversation as well. But yeah, I can't. You'd be shocked if either the Roosters or the Panthers weren't in the grand final. If it's not one of those two teams, there's injuries or something's happened to cause neither of those teams to make the final. I think they're just too good, too talented all around the park. And my spoon, I do have the Knights close. They don't look promising at all, but I'd say the Cowboys. I think the Cows don't have much going for them at the moment. There's trouble in the coaching staff and how they're going to run their team, and just maybe too young, I think, to really be competing at the moment. So there's not a lot of talent there, and not many guys that you could really just chuck the ball in their hand and say, go win it for us. So they're going to be in the bottom sort of four. That's almost a lock, I think.
Well, look, only one of us can be right, but all of us will be wrong, I'm sure. So thank you for doing your homework again, but I'm sure we're all going to be terribly wrong. It'll end up being
putting the Sharks in the grand final didn't do so.
Yeah, I hope you're both right for my sake, but I think you're both wrong.
Right, it's time for the good, bad, and ugly, and then we'll talk about the upcoming weekend in sport. And I have the good this week, so let me start you guys off. My good is the MCB in Victoria has named their Great Southern Stand after the great Shane Warne. It will now be called the SK Warne Stand. Great tribute for a Victorian who did so much for the sport and for the country as a whole. We spoke about it earlier in the show, but very good to see them come forward. They've given him a state funeral, I think, which will be held in a couple of weeks' time. I believe he's still in Thailand at the moment. They're trying to get him back. So hopefully they get him back soon and his family can have a service for him too, as well as the great people of Victoria. So very nice to see. So thank you, guys.
That's a good one.
The bad this week, that's you, Ness. What do you got for us?
Had a few lined up this week, but a call with you this morning, Spinks.
A few what?
Yeah. I had a few bad topics lined up.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Spinks and I had a chat at 8:30 this morning, and it now takes the cake. So this one's about Spinks, and it's a bit of retaliation for his paying me out earlier. We've mentioned that it's round one of the NRL this weekend, and I want to say, without disclosing all of the resident details of...
That's okay. I thought
yeah.
the rest of that story.
Where did you think I was going with this?
I don't know. I wasn't sure.
I want to know now.
So do I.
He looked really, really nervous.
Oh,
he did, didn't he?
We'll share that story off air later, okay?
Yeah, we'll share later. No, Spinks often tells us how close he lives to GRO Stadium, Canberra, and it's just it's and I a little bit of a stalker, but it's 1.3 kilometers from your house to the front of the stadium.
The front door.
Now you ran 15 Ks on the weekend, so it means it's about 1.5 Ks to a seat, but the Raiders play the Sharks, and you claim to be the Sharks supporter, but you told me this morning at 8:30 that you were not going to the game. Now I have a few issues with this.
That's great. That
is a shit fan right there. Like, I'm not happy with you at all. That's true Canberran style, because you referenced the weather. Now I'm going to say that at 8:44 when I got to work, I checked what the weather would be for you, because it's also part of my job. It's going to be 22. It's going to be a beautiful sunny day, beautiful weather for football. And it's about $30 to go. So if you're a true fan, you'll go, Spinks. You will go and you'll watch your Sharks. They'll get smashed, but that's okay. You should go.
First of all,
and also you last week, I haven't finished. I haven't finished it.
Let the lady talk.
My bad. Very sorry. My bad.
Last week you wanted a new stadium, but we're never going to get one if fans like you don't turn up. So there you go. That's my rant for this week.
Okay, I have.
Shut up, yeah.
Now,
dog.
I can't be cranky at you at all.
22
That's bad, man.
The 22 degrees doesn't factor into it at all because I work outside, so I'm used to being like 8 degrees or minus
Yeah.
or whatever, right? And tickets aren't $30. I get it for free because I'm a member, right? So I get a free ticket.
There's no excuse. There's no cost.
There's no excuse at all.
You can walk.
It's just that there's a big weekend coming up this weekend, and I have a lot on, and we'll talk about that with what's coming up in Canberra this weekend. So I've made an executive decision to save my money that I would be spending at the game and spend it on other things. So I have a prior engagement.
I just want to compare that in April I'm going to the F1, but the Vixens game clashes with qualifying, and I'm going to try and get to both because I'm a good fan.
You are a good fan. Yes.
Yeah. See,
Speaking host,
you
this
just
is good enough.
Yeah, that's not good for me. You need to do better.
The grand finalists are in town, and you're like, "Nah, I'm not going to watch."
And this would be Spinks, the same person that'll be like, "There's no sport in Canberra to go and watch. Like, there's nothing on." This would be you, wouldn't it?
In the last 2 weeks, in the last 8 days.
We are not fans. Even your daughter thinks we're not professional. Okay, like we are not.
Okay, I got
the elite level.
It's still
anyway. I've wrote.
It's still 4 days out. Maybe
I've never wanted. I think we need an Insta poll actually after this when we put the show up. We'll do a poll that should fans actually go and support their team. I mean, I've never wanted the Raiders to win so much, but just because you won't go and support the Sharks.
Okay, just before we move on, the Raiders and Sharks obviously is this Friday night at 6 o'clock here at GIO Stadium. And because I like to run my mouth occasionally, right, I'm in a deep, dark hole if the Sharks get beaten on Friday night because I have run my mouth and there's a lot of bets on the line. And some of them are getting drawn out of a hat tomorrow night of what the punishment is going to be. So I am very nervous and very scared. I might need to watch it in the comfort of my own home because shit's going to go down and shit's going to get really ugly if I lose. So there we go.
You're making bets you can't even back.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him off the show, okay? But I can't mention these on here. We'll talk about him later. But ugly this week before we talk about what's coming up this week.
Yeah, good transition from that ugliness to this ugliness. And my ugly this week is on Thursday, I got the test and come back positive for the spicy flu. And I've always just thought, it's all right. Like you get to stay at home, whatever. And it just, for me, it sucks balls. I've copped it the worst. So like since Thursday night, I've probably had about 3 meals, maybe 15 hours of combined sleep. Like I can't eat, I can't sleep, whole body aches like basically all the time, a constant headache. So it sucks. And there was me just being like, like I want COVID, like it's a few days off, like it'll be fine. And it fucking just straight up blows. I gave it to my partner. I gave it to Jess too. She got diagnosed the next day. And like a day and a half later, she was fine. And there's poor old Princess me over here just copping it. But I think a fair bit of that is from putting myself through a fair bit after the grand final and then on Mad Monday. So my system was already kind of pretty weak at that stage. So I'm paying for that at the moment.
So as the only one of the three of us without having had COVID, does that make me superior?
Mm.
In a sense it does, but you're also the only one out of 3 that wouldn't go support their own team. So
there it is. I couldn't have said it better if I tried. Well done, Bo.
Oh, burn. Well, mate, look.
We're wittier because we've had COVID.
You're with you. Look, we both feel.
COVID gang.
We both feel for you, and hopefully you get better really soon, mate. Because
absolutely,
you are very, very hard to deal with when you're sick. So
hard to deal with when I'm not. Ask Jess.
Hang in there, mate.
Beautiful. All right.
Shout out to my mum though. She's been bringing me food and medicine the whole time. So quick shout out to her. Bless her soul. She's great.
Thanks, Mum. She's the best.
Good job, Mum.
All right, coming up this weekend, guys, the NRL finally kicks off for the first time since the 1st of October. I think the grand final was last year. It's been a very long off season, and we kick off with Manly and the Panthers on Thursday night. And then we go straight into straight into Friday with the Raiders and the Sharks here in town. And then you two are up against each other on Saturday afternoon, Knights and the Roosters. So I expect a 60-point win to the Roosters in that one for sure. It's going to be another trial match for the Roosters. So should be good.
Newcastle should win 12 plus, I reckon.
Yeah, sure.
We're a lock.
You're a gambling man, yes. If you do live in the great state of the ACT, there is a huge sports weekend up for you this weekend. As I said, 6 o'clock Friday night, Sharks and the Roosters. The Canberra Cup horse racing is on the Sunday, and the Black Opal, the family day, is on the Monday at Thoroughbred Park. So get out and check that out. Enlighten Festival's on. There's all kinds of other stuff going on here in Canberra for the long weekend. And I've got 4 days off work, so Spinksy's going to send it just all weekend. So get ready. AFL kicks off as well. AFL preseason. I think that's called the Community Shield or something at the moment. That'll be on too, and I'm sure that'll be hard to watch. So if you're an AFL fan, tune in, but everyone else, don't worry about it. So plenty of sport up for grabs. So if you guys can't find something to watch, you aren't trying hard enough. From me and these two, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to Joshua for being on the show this week. It's nice to have you.
Josh.
Background, Josh. Thank you very much. All right, guys. We'll see you all next week.
Take care. Brush your hair.